Thank you for tuning in to the Music Lovers Podcast, where we explore all types of music,
reminiscing on the old jams and putting you on to what's new.
We are your hosts, Megan,
Ashley,
and Kalila, and we want to know,
do you speak music?
Welcome to the WAP edition of Do You Speak?
right? Ooh, I could just imagine Granny like, wow. What's wow?
Wait, what? Hello, everybody, and welcome back to Do You Speak Music? We are your hosts, Megan, Ashley, and Kalila. We are so happy to be back. We hope you all enjoyed our last episode where we had our chat with Granny. Well, we finished our chat with Granny, should I say. And then we just had a little bit more discussion about just the fun things or just the things that have changed in the Chicago music scene since then. So before we get into our Who You Listening To for today, I am actually going to introduce our guest of the day. And so we'll start, wait a minute. Ooh, okay, and go back. Okay. Before we get into our topic for today or get into our regular Who You Listening To, I'm going to introduce our guest for today. We do have one of my good friends who is coming to share her thoughts with us just on who she's been listening to as well as our topic for the day. So our guest today is none other than my friend, Danny D. She is a well-known radio personality, a voiceover artist, and an event MC. She's currently an imaging voice for Pandora and Sirius XM. So if you guys, listen to Pandora or Sirius, I'm sure you've probably heard her voice here and there. And then if you don't recognize her voice from there, then you probably will recognize it from when you were listening to the radio a few years ago, because Danny started her radio career here in Chicago after she graduated from college. She had hosting jobs on both Power 92 and WGCI. And after she, started her career here, then after she started her career here, Danny went on to Indianapolis. So she was in Indianapolis. She gained major popularity there, landed her own afternoon show on Hot 96.3 in Indianapolis. And she was consistently ranked number one and became a household name with her signature phrase, "You my girl, Danny D." So I know that was a lot, but we got to give her just due,
Absolutely.
let her know who she is. So without further ado, we are going to welcome our guest, Miss Danny D.
we're going to insert some,
Right, we need some.
Ooh.
Oh, you cute. You fancy. Come on.
And I'm slow. I'm like, where's she at? Like, I just glanced. I was like, oh, okay, scenery.
Hello. All right. Hello.
Hi.
Hi.
Look at you. You cute. Your little picture cute.
Thank you, girl.
So welcome to the You Speak Music podcast.
Thank you for having me. Can you hear me okay?
Yes, you sound great. A lot better. You got your mic set up, don't you?
I do.
She's so
so professional.
yeah, she's
Right.
we just, we working with what we got. All right, well, since you're here, Danny, like we said, we usually do a segment called Who You Listening To. So like I said, we just kind of talk about who you've been listening to for the week. So Danny, why don't you start us off and let us know who you've been listening to?
Okay. So I do voiceover work for Pandora Radio, and I had to do something for their adult R&B radio.
Okay.
And it's a lot of gems on there that I didn't know about, like new R&B songs. So I'm listening to an Avant song. It's called Edible. I don't know if you guys heard about that. I saw it make the Shade Room.
That's what I was going to ask, if it was the same song. Okay.
I think it's the same song. I'm not sure. But yeah, Avant, he sounds really good. And then Tamia got a song. I forgot the name of her song. Tamia has a song.
Love Tamia.
Uh-huh.
Gems.
Gems. And then Robin Thicke.
He's back.
He has a song called Forever Mine that I really like.
Okay.
So I'm on an R&B tip this week.
Okay. What about everybody else, ladies? Who's going? Who you guys been listening to?
I'll go ahead and go first.
Okay.
So this past week, first of all, Danny, welcome. Thank you.
Oh, thank you.
This week I have not been listening to as much music as I normally would like to, which means I'm working more than I'm enjoying, but that's okay. This week has kind of been a mix of some more Alicia Keys. I still go back to that Unplugged album.
Ooh, that's good.
Yeah, it's, to me, I don't want nobody to fight me. Y'all always throw me under the bus, but I think that's one of her best albums.
I agree. I agree that that's one of her best albums. Like, that's the one I'll play all the way through. Now the rest of them, I don't know.
And I said what I said because y'all be trying to get these people after me with my unsolicited opinions.
We were only mad about Christina Aguilera. That was it.
Yeah, that was.
Be mad.
Else, I feel like we let.
Be mad. So yeah, Alicia Keys. I've also been listening to a little bit of Molly Music. I really just love the last two albums, so listen to that. And then I'm trying to think, what is new that I've, besides Tiana Major 9, which I've, been listening to a lot of that. So for those of you who don't listen to her, Tiana and then the Major, MAJOR, number 9. I know sometimes we name artists and then y'all be probably like, who the that? So, yep.
Ashley, what about you?
So I've been listening to Tiana Major 9 as well. I don't know if me and Megan have talked about it on the show before, but we got put on to her after her first, what was it, EP or album?
EP, yep.
Right. So I loved her since then, and then this EP came out, and I hadn't had a chance to listen to it when it first came out, but I finally listened to it the other day, and then I saw that Adele posted about it too, and I was like, okay, that's cool. Like, I hope she really blows up now because she deserves. She's very talented.
Mm-hmm.
I also have been listening to Pink Sweats. I listened to his EP. It was a lot more popish than I expected. So I only knew maybe like 2 other songs by him. That song Honesty, and then some other song. I can't even think of the name of it. But I didn't expect him to be like as pop as he is. He kind of gives me like Charlie Puth vibes. But his album, it's dope. It's a dope EP. It kind of gave me like a roller skating ring type of like real summery, poppy, just feel good music. So those are the 2 albums that I've been listening to. I'm still stuck on Tiana Taylor too. I just
I have not been back to visit it. I'm gonna go back, but yeah, I haven't been back to visit it because I
No.
Anywho, not for you, baby.
No.
It be like that sometimes. It be like that.
She's creative. She's very creative. I like what she does with her visual art.
Yeah, I can say that. But yeah, I'm gonna go back and revisit it. But for me, so I went to, because Ashley was talking about Jacob Collier last week, so I went and listened to his I don't know how to pronounce it. I don't know. I'm not about to butcher this word, so people love me, but D''Jesse, and that's the like volume 2, because volume 3 I believe is coming out next Friday. And I have also been listening to Tiana Major 9, and I really like the song Same Space. I think that's the last song in that album, or that EP. And then I listened to the Victoria Monet project, and apparently it's a project, and because she called it a project because it's like 3 parts to it, and I just saw that on like an interview that she did with iTunes. And I listened to it because, Terrell Grice was talking about her and said she was underrated, and, she's written a lot for Ariana Grande, and she's Grammy nominated. So I was like, well, let me check it out. And it was some songs I was like, oh, I was like, okay, but some other songs I was like, okay, this is good, but this is for some kids who are, maybe early 20s. Me would have enjoyed it more. But late 20s me was just like, I mean, it's good for what it is, but I'm gonna just leave that to the kids. So yeah, that was for me personally. But so yeah, that's it for who we've been listening to. So let's get into our chat, our discussion for the day. Sound good for everybody?
Yes, ma'am.
Yeah.
All right. So we'll just start with the first question. I feel like this might be like our one of the staples, but I just want to ask you, Danny, what did home sound like when you were growing up? So like, what music was being played in your house and that gave your house a specific sound?
So my parents were teenagers in the 70s.
Okay.
So everything was like 70s music. We listened to V103 in Chicago. Friday nights, their mix shows and stuff like that. So 70s music. And then, of course, 90s music, because I was a kid in the 90s. So everything was 90s R&B, rap and all of that. So yeah, 70s, 80s, 90s.
Okay. Anybody in particular that was just like your parents are like go hard for?
Oh, my mom loves the Gap Band.
Okay.
That was more 80s, right? Yeah.
Yes.
The Gap Band, I love them too. Outstanding, Yearning for Your Love, all of that.
Yes.
All of that.
Those
And
are
of course,
Drop a bomb on me.
hey, baby. So yeah, people like that. Oh, so many that I can't even, like, I could be sitting here all day talking about all the artists that they introduced me to, but anybody who was anybody during that time is what we listened to. And then of course, Chicago house music and
oh yeah.
And forget that.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
But who next? Y'all got a question? Because I can go on all day.
Come on with your cup.
Right.
Oh yeah.
Is that a Starbucks Christmas cup?
You know what? It might be. My
Or
mom.
no, at Starbucks said holiday cup, and then they had the Saints mat.
Right.
But okay.
Well, let me just let me just go with my next one. Okay. So I know you mentioned V103. What other stations were being played in the car when you were younger that you remember?
GCI.
Okay. GCI.
Yeah,
What about
GCI V103.
Y'all
Both
too,
of them.
KB, Ashley.
I miss WNUA 95.5.
WNUA.
My dad used to play that.
Yeah, same.
Play that on the way home from like work or school. That's how I got put on Anita Baker and Sade. They played all day on WNUA.
Listen, WNUA loves Sade.
Good.
I do. And you know what, Megan? I can't even like be mad at you for saying it's sleepy music. Yes, Megan Barrett said that Sade is sleepy music. I'm putting you out. But I can't be mad because when my dad would put it on, I'd be in the back seat like
knocked out.
Exactly. So for me, they would play WNUA during nap time. So my only association with like as a kid, like 5 and 6, my only association with jazz music and Sade was it's time to go to sleep. So
lay down.
So I think as I've gotten older, and I've run into more people who like Sade, I am trying to give it more of a chance and trying to appreciate her artistry. I mean, because when you do listen to it, like, it is good, but at the same time, it's just, yeah, but,
Man. It's okay, friend. It's okay.
I know.
Well, listen, despite the fact that you don't listen to Sade, I'm going to forgive you for that, but I was raised on WNUA as well. But for me, see, I'm a preacher's kid, so my mama was not allowing. I snuck and bought Jay-Z's Black Album like in 8th grade. So, and I ain't gonna even tell y'all how I bought the album. That's another episode for another day.
I
want to know.
Right?
You didn't open up the box, KB. You got to tell the story.
Yeah,
I mean, I'm 30 now, so I guess I could tell it, huh?
Yeah, you grown.
I took a bus. Meanwhile, I'm living at the time living in the south suburbs. I took a bus all the way to Forest City Mall because they were one of the malls that wouldn't like ask for the age if you
By
wanted.
yourself?
No, I wasn't by myself. So I went with some friends at the time. And we took a bus all the way to Forest City. And I told my mom that I was gonna be with these friends, and I was like, I went to spend the night at their house. But if my mama knew that I had taken a bus from
To
Homewood,
Forest
'cause I
City?
think they lived in Homewood, from Homewood all the way to Forest City.
Ooh.
Oh my
Oh,
God.
we.
Yeah, she would have lost it.
She
Yeah,
would
for
have
sure.
lost it. She would have lost her mind. I mean, so, but my mom, just like Danny's parents, you know, my mom, she'll be 60 this year. So she was a teenager in the 70s as well, born in 1960. And so my mother loved Anita Baker. I heard it all the time.
Mm-hmm.
And so I had a little bit of everything. It was mainly gospel music, you know, and then as time went on, people started listening, you know, and like Fred Hammond and Kirk Franklin came out, and then I felt like, ooh, I get to listen to something that she'll approve, but it don't sound like I'm, you know,
Going to hell.
Going to Freaknik.
no, I was gonna say it, you know, I can listen to it and it's related to God and related to Jesus, but it don't have to sound so old.
Oh, yeah.
You know, so
Yeah.
I was excited about that, but yeah,
We-
that Black album, that was my first little.
That's a fun story, though. I mean, because kids today will never know to get
Right.
on the bus and
Oh
go
no,
get
they
some
wouldn't.
music.
Right, because it's
So
all
it's
in
fun.
their hand. Like everything that you just stream it, and I mean, like your honestly, your parents probably don't. I mean, unless they go out to your phone, they don't know what's in your iTunes library unless
don't.
Right.
yeah, like so yeah,
And
they
they'll never know that feeling of like a hot album that like is anticipated coming out and you fearing that it might get sold out. Like they'll
Hello,
never understand
listen.
that, like you had to go get it the day it came out or else you might miss it. Or like remember how CDs used to have like posters included, like special editions and all of that.
because
Mhm.
the B2K Pandemonium album.
Oh yes.
Listen, first of all, I don't know if I've told this story before, but my mama brought home the Raspy cover. When I tell you I was upset,
Was you pissed or no?
Your mama bogey.
I was like, out of all the people, it wasn't none of the other three.
That is tickling me.
Oh my goodness.
That must have been all that was left.
And man, she saw B2K and didn't pay no attention to who it was. But when I was like,
No, that's why it's tickling me because I'm imagining her in the store like at Omarion cover, like all their covers before it. She like, this the one Megan probably like.
no, I mean I was grateful, but I
It's
was
the
like,
lips. It's the lips.
The lips.
no, I mean it's not even the lips. It's his head. It's just so whatever. Regardless,
He got Yo Gotti head.
well, whatever it was, he wasn't J Boog. So in all honesty, I was marrying J Boog when I was 10, but
Okay.
it wasn't him. But it could have been either of the other two. It could have been Lil Fizz or Marion, but she picked Raz B, and I was like,
But
Sorry, Mom.
who are me?
Sorry, Megan. I had J Boog on my cover.
See, that's who I wanted. But anywho, but back to like radio. So for me, we had GCI and stuff. We also listened to 1390. Well, so when I was in 7th and 8th grade,
That's the one I missed.
no, 1390. Yeah, when I was in 7th and 8th grade, we rode a van to school. So they would come. There was like a church van. One of the girls, her dad had a church, and they had a church van where they would pick up the kids who went to our school and take us to either McKinley or took us to Calvary, which were like right in that little area. And they didn't play nothing but 1390. So we heard John Hannah and
Lonnie.
Yep, we heard
Angela.
Yep, and Angela. Yep. So we heard them every morning, and we heard No Way about 15 times every morning.
Shout out to Ty Tribbett.
Yes, shout out to Ty Tribbett. And I mean, so I was up on all the gospel, but yeah, if they wasn't on 1390 in 7th to 8th grade, if at least in the morning and the afternoon, then I just wasn't hearing it. So, but yeah, those were the big ones I think for me. And then I read that Power 92, like I remember hearing the advertisements or just saying that Power 92 was coming out. I don't remember from where or if it was like from another station or maybe do you know, Danny, like what they did in terms of how they promoted it back then, or do you remember that?
Ooh, that's all I remember is them saying it was coming. But it was a new station. It was just a new station.
But I feel like it couldn't have been GCI though, because they wasn't going to be like tune into
Oh no.
Right.
I'm not sure. I need to do my research. Yeah, I'm not sure about that.
But you know what? Back then, I feel like you said, our advertising was a lot more print. So it could have been the magazines. It could have been the stickers on the stoplight. It could have been posters in the FYE store or whoever, you know.
Right. FYE.
Yeah. So I feel like it could have.
I know. That's what I was like. Oh,
it could have been anywhere. And I feel like FYE was still, is it still open in River Oaks Mall?
Well, it was open. I feel like I can be making this up, but I feel like it was open at least when we went to college. It could have still been open because we didn't see CDs then. Right.
I have a question in regards to being in radio and being in the entertainment and broadcast industry. So, have you ever felt that there was a time where you kind of prepared for an interview or you were really prepared for a segment and then it went south or it just did not go as planned and you were either thinking like, okay, either I'm getting fired today or by the grace of God, I'm going to still have my job tomorrow?
Ooh, every day. That's radio though, because it's live. So something is always happening. You can't always prevent it. But we had this friendly little thing called the dump button. So I don't know if I accidentally cussed or somebody around me cussed or something, but all you do is press the button because radio is on a delay. So it's like either a 20-second or 30-second delay. So if I say something I'm not supposed to, I hit that button and you all won't hear it. But I've had moments like that. I've had moments with interviews where you think you're super prepared and then the artist will come in with an attitude or they don't want to talk at all or they're sleepy or they're hungry. Like it's so many different types of things. They're humans, you know, and they're not always in the mood. So things can go south as far as interviews and stuff like that. But it's always something. Yeah.
Danny, can you tell us how you got started in radio?
Yeah. Okay. I'm gonna try to make a long story short. So it's something that I always loved when I was a little girl. I used to pretend like I was on the radio. Because radio is a big thing in Chicago. I don't know if any other city realizes that, but we love our radio in Chicago, or at least we did back in the day. So when I would listen to GCI and V103, I would hear Tom Joyner in the morning, and we were just talking about Herb Kent, the cool gent, and all your legends like that. So I was like, oh my goodness, I have to be like them. And I would just pretend that I was them. So I would stand by my stereo, pretend like I was on the radio, record myself on cassette tapes. And ever since I was like, this is what I'm going to do. So at one point I wanted to be on the news. That was short-lived. I was like, nope, I'm still a girl. I love me some music, so this is what I'm gonna do. When I got to college, someone told me about a radio station, WIDB. It was an internet station similar to a podcast. You could only hear it on the internet. Okay. So I had a show on there for about 3.5 years. Worked my way up in that station, and then I was promoting Club Secrets. Y'all remember Secrets?
No.
I already know.
So we'll leave it at that.
We'll leave it at that. Secrets. If you was there, you already know. So yeah, so I met DJ Ferris there and his brother who was helping promote the parties. And I made sure that because I knew DJ Ferris worked for Power 92. So I made sure that they knew that I wanted to do radio. Like I always put that in their ear all the time. And I was a hard worker. I wasn't for the mess. I just did my job and that's it. So they knew I was about business. And so happened Power 92 had an internship available the summer before my senior year of college. Okay. So I ended up getting an intern because of how good I did with DJ Ferris and the promoting of the parties. Interned at Power 92. And when I graduated college, I got a job right out of college because I did so well during the internship. So no, it wasn't on air immediately. I was working the boards, pushing the buttons. My first station was WYCA, which is a gospel station, with Daryl King and the Bling Bling back when I was there. So yeah, I did board work and I worked with churches and their shows. So they really start you from I have to shout out Power 92 and Crawford Broadcasting because they really teach you the basics of radio. Like I would not be where I am today without that. So I learned those basics and I just continue to prove myself and climb up the ladder and got my first show overnight. Megan, you remember 2 a.m. to 6 a.m. in the morning on Power 92.
I was tuning in.
Go out with y'all.
Yep.
Because it was Saturday mornings, 2 to 6. So sometimes I wouldn't sleep at all. I would just go to work. Or I would sleep all day and then go. But yeah, so that was my very first show, but I just appreciated the shot. And I got a fan base from that show, the third shift workers and just the people who were out clubbing and stuff like that. That's how I got my first fan base. Did well with that. They gave me a Sunday afternoon show and I just kept climbing up the ladder. That's how I got to GCI because they heard me on Power 92. So yeah, I mean, that's how I got in. I just kept working my way to the top.
Cool. Now, I know, so you talked about, Tom Joyner. Do y'all remember It's Your World?
Yes.
Ashley, you look like you don't. It was like the soap opera that they had.
Yes.
Every morning.
Yes.
So
I remember now.
Before there was a Strawberry Letter with Steve Harvey.
Yeah, that's
It's Your World.
Yeah. It was It's Your World. And because I'm like, I think there's a TikTok or whatever when it's like, you 6:30 in the morning and you getting woken up by this is nephew Tommy, whatever. But we was getting woken up by It's Your World.
Right.
Don't you know you can mean it or whatever.
I love Tom.
Man, childhood memory. Shout out to you for remembering that.
Right.
I feel old now. Thanks, Megan.
I don't know why that particular thing is just like ingrained in me. Like for some reason, like here and there, I just randomly think about It's Your World because I'm just like, and now I mean, even too, that's as a form of people do storytelling on podcasts now, but they was doing. I mean, even though it was like the black soap opera or it was like some outrageous stuff going on, people were still tuning in the morning to hear what was going on. It's Your World.
On my way to Christian private school, listening to these soap operas in the morning.
Right, same for me. Right, same for me.
I feel like I was just a heathen with the music and the radio.
Oh no,
I was all over the place too, so don't feel bad. And look, I remember being younger, being like, man, I can't wait till I become an adult so I can go on the Tom Joyner cruise. I used to want to go on a Tom Joyner cruise because thinking like my parents would always listen to those oldies. So when they would be talking about, Ronald Isley gonna be there and such and such, I used to like, man, I want to go on a Tom Joyner cruise.
Oh, how our dreams have changed.
Shout out to Tom Joyner though, because he just recently retired.
Yeah.
So yeah, I mean he the biggest in radio. Made a huge impact. That's why you remember that show World. It's Your World. What is it? It's Your World.
Yeah, It's Your World. Yeah, because of him. Yep. That's exactly why. Because he was on that station. Him, I mean, and Doug Bass, may he rest in peace. He was a
they were definitely pioneers. And for us, obviously radio started in the 30s and way before we was even thought of. But for us growing up and especially living in Chicago, The radio has always been a big part of our entertainment and the way that we communicate and, you know, just tell stories of our people. Doug Banks and Tom Joyner were like highlights of riding to school in the mornings and yeah, for sure.
True.
Legends.
Yeah, absolutely. Okay, so let me shift it a little bit. So we sometimes you don't want to listen to the radio, right? And we didn't necessarily have. I don't know if all of us were driving when you were finally able to plug in your iPod to the aux or whatever. So I don't think I was. Danny, I know you're you're like right in between us in terms of, Khalila's in May or September, and then the rest of us come. But so what if you didn't want to listen to the radio, what were you putting on your mix CDs back in the day?
I just found some mix CDs. Listen, in high school, ratchet, just ratchet. You know, everybody talking down about like WAP this week. Girl, I had Trina Look Back at It on there. I had a lot of Crime Mob on there. I just a lot of ratchet stuff.
Yeah, it was other stuff. Obviously, they wouldn't play on the radio, but
of course not.
We had access to. Some kind of way we got the access to the songs.
Shout out to LimeWire.
I'm about to say LimeWire.
Right.
Yes.
Before they, got the monopoly on streaming, everybody was on LimeWire getting they either full CDs,
right?
Or just CDs and
so
stuff like that.
When I started driver's ed, it was 2005. So, that's like the era of like 05, 06. That's the era of like Lil Jon, Snap Your Fingers.
Yes.
Ludacris, Moneymaker, Chingy, Pulling Me Back. So those were kind of the songs that I added to different CDs that I'm sure is somewhere broken somewhere. Y'all remember Bubba Sparks, Miss New Booty? And I ain't got nobody's big butt, but I swear to God, that was my song. That was my jam. Or what was my other favorite in high school? Young Jock Is Going Down. Girl, that was my jam.
That's still my jam.
I learned to drive to It's Going Down.
Yes.
I know everywhere, and I'm not ashamed.
I'm not either. When that song comes on, I literally go back to like I'm 13 again. I'm just
It's like we had a lot of good music. Even 06, 07, there was a lot of good music. Like what was that other one? I can't think of his name, but Shoulderling.
Oh, Young Dro.
Young Dro.
Yes, girl, that was my jam. That was my jam.
Yes. Shoulderling was on, boy. I was.
Yes. So it wasn't like super ratchet, but whatever was happening at the time on 106 in Park, like I was listening to it.
Oh, yeah. What about what's the song? So there was a song that basically, if you were a boy from Chicago and you was trying to sing, you this song, and what is like
3-Piece?
Yeah, or
y'all remember
they was in every beauty shop.
God, they were.
Give me a sign.
Yeah.
Give me satisfied.
Yeah. Or it was like I should have known.
Oh, Jay Holiday?
Yeah.
No, Ben One.
Something that couldn't make us stay. Let's turn around and some.
Oh yes.
What was it like? Was it One Chance?
One Chance.
That was the name of the group.
It had to be.
Was it?
No good.
Yeah. One Chance.
Let me see. What year was this? Like,
I don't know. Okay, so the reason I remember this song is because the girls went downstate. The girls basketball team went downstate when I was like a freshman in high school, I think.
Yes.
And for some reason, everybody just on the way either there or back from downstate, we just decided that everybody was gonna sing. And if you was gonna sing, then the boys were singing One Chance. And I can't remember exactly who it was, but that's the song. If they was asking you to sing, that was the first one they brought out, because in 2005,
because apparently that was the standard for vocals.
That was the standard. Now I gotta look it up. Y'all gotta make me.
I'm looking it up right now. Listen, it don't take me no time. Okay.
So what song did the girl sing, Megan?
I don't know, because I feel like I will not name this girl, but Danny knows exactly who I'm talking about. But she was singing on them, and I can't remember what song it was, but I was just like, all right.
Dead.
Go ahead and keep my lips sipped on that. But I don't remember, probably because I just tuned her out, to be honest.
You know what was the go-to song for everybody? Like, if somebody was like, you can sing? Yeah, I can sing. Okay, sing something. I don't know what it is that you. Everybody used to sing.
I knew it.
They used to tell me I'm lying. Anytime you used to ask a girl, she could sing. She would
say. That was the one. That's the one.
That's a fact. Still to this day.
I was about to say, even still, somebody or people who requested it, they'd be like, "Sing weak." I'm like,
right? Like,
that was not my go-to.
That song is 30. Like what?
Okay, you were right. One Chance, and I feel like weren't they under Nappy Boy Entertainment with like T-Pain?
Were they?
They were Atlanta boys.
Okay,
but they like, how did they become a Chicago group?
Right, because I feel like
were they Chicago.
Yeah, it was like four of them. Like maybe they were like born and raised in Atlanta, and I don't remember their story, but I'm looking on Google. One Chance was an R&B group of Chicago, best known for their 06 song "Look at Her."
Yes.
Look at her when her shades on. Y'all remember that song?
Y'all just
their whole snap movement.
Right. The lean and the snap, boy. Yeah. Everybody was doing that.
Listen,
thank you for this trip back down memory lane. Okay,
I have some things stored, and I gotta get them out sometimes.
They were playing on the radio for sure.
Okay, let's redirect.
I have a question.
Oh, go ahead, Ashley.
Okay, so Danny, was there ever okay, no, let me not say that. So if you weren't doing radio, what would you do for a living?
Ooh.
Nothing.
Well, if people don't know, I'm not currently doing radio right now. I'm doing voiceover work. I know that's a form of, the same type of profession, but it's not, because I'm not actually being a personality. I'm reading scripts and voice acting. So that's actually something that I have been wanting to get into while I was still on the radio. So now this quarantine and all that has given me a chance to do that. So can I say voice acting? I mean, I know that's under the same thing.
Yeah, no, okay. You can, definitely. I was trying to think of how to form the question, but that was that was That's cool. I've always admired voice actors, because I feel like in some ways it's got to be harder than acting like on a set with another actor, especially like if you're recording by yourself. You just in this booth with some paper in front of you, and you have to pretend like you're talking to somebody that's there, or like I admire voice actors. I do.
And that's funny, because I like it, because I'm kind of a loner, so I like being by myself, because I can act as crazy as I want, and I can make faces like I want to, and nobody's looking at me. So that's the fun part about it for me.
When I think about voice actors, I don't know why, but I always think about the pharmaceutical commercials that have like 99 side effects. And I just be trying to figure out, like, how are these people at home really perfecting the names of any of these medicines, or the long list of things that could go wrong but cost you like $50 and you need it 2 weeks.
Exactly. That's crazy,
man.
Let me shift a little bit. Let me go back to exactly so I can read this question right. Have you noticed, as we've gotten older, a shift in what's popular on the radio and what you listen to now?
Oh my God, yes. Um, I question myself all the time. I'm like, is it just because I'm getting older that I can't get with some of today's generation music? Now, the stations that I worked for, the demographic is 18 to 34. So that's still us.
Yeah.
But I feel like
But
radio,
not for long.
no, oh,
Right.
you're right. But no, I feel like radio though has always catered to, or let's say hip hop and R&B radio has always catered to like the younger generation. So like the kids and the teenagers. So I do feel like I'm getting away from the music of today. And I don't want to say that it's changed, or how do you put this? It has changed, but I feel like every generation criticizes the next generation's music. So just like we might be criticizing today's music, our parents criticize ours. So I don't want to be so down on today's music. That's just what they like.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It has a market for sure. I mean, I don't know if I should say there's a need for it, but there's definitely an attraction to it. And, just like everything else, I feel like we're looking back on stuff that we listened to, what was that, 10, 15 years ago now, 2005, 2006. And so 10 or 15 years from now, when I'm 40 and 45, we will be listening, we'll be listening to V103 for real.
Right, exactly.
But the thing is,
go ahead.
I still get shocked when I hear like a Summer Walker song on V103, or like they play some of the music from today, or they play a lot of Drake too. And I'm just like, man, I don't remember them playing more back in the 90s or whatever. I don't remember them playing what we would have heard on GCI on like they were separate entities, if I'm making sense. Like,
is it because he sings just as?
I mean, it's not just Drake. They play a lot, quite a few songs from, like, they play Heat on 103, on 102.7 now by Chris Brown and Gunna. They just take Gunna part out, but yeah,
because a lot of our generations have crossed over. Because when I was doing like GCI, I would have a lot of older listeners as well. So it's like now when I say crossed over, everybody's kind of listening to the same stuff. Like older people like our stuff or younger stuff. So that's why, because V103's demographic, I believe, is 25 to 54, something like that. So it does have to cater to our age group as well. So that's why they kind of cross it over like that. And then, as you notice, the old school music now is our music from the in early 2000s. So now that's playing on V103. All the 70s music and stuff, that's Dusties now.
Right.
That's not even just throwbacks. That's Dusty. That's sad to say.
That's 106.3.
Right. But do you think that there is also a shift, or that V103 is playing more radio or more, R&B stuff like that because GCI or Power 92 or just, hip hop stations, period, because they aren't playing as much R&B?
That could be. I know, stations like Power, they play pretty much all hip hop.
Okay.
Yeah. But I'm not sure that could be a reason, but like I said, so many people are listening to the same kinds of music. It just kind of crosses over like that.
That makes sense.
They test the music. So if Heat is doing well with that age demographic, then they're going to play it.
Yeah.
That makes sense.
What about, since we're talking about like R&B and stations not playing it as much, when do you feel like you remember kind of when that shift happened, or like do you remember at least when you, how am I gonna rephrase this question? At least, okay, so since you've been on the radio, was there a shift where you like it's like way more hip hop than it was R&B or something like that?
I mean, this has actually happened within the last few years. Okay. I don't know if you guys realize it as listeners, but it hasn't been that long since this shift kind of happened. So I don't last maybe 5, 6. I don't know. I wouldn't say 10 years quite.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, but within the last few years, it's kind of been changing. They're doing the whole shift, and like you know what, Megan. Now that you mentioned it, I think it is because hip hop is like the winner nowadays. So that's what they're playing with the current hip hop station. So yeah, the last few years.
Okay.
And I think that has a lot to do with like the apps and it's like what's on TV. So like you got TikTok that's made hip hop huge. I mean, not that it wasn't already, but you know what I'm saying? Like there's songs and artists that are being discovered because people use a clip on TikTok or whatever. Yeah. So I think that's played a part in it too, because you have Vine and you have Musical.ly, TikTok. So yeah.
Let me see. Do you think there's a reason that R&B isn't played as much on like the younger stations?
I think it's just like what Ash was saying. It's just what the kids like stuff like TikTok and stuff like that. Radio looks at that and say, okay, what are they listening to? What are they, listening to on social media? And then they'll play it. I don't know if you remember, what was the song? Boy, you should know that.
Yeah.
Wasn't that popular on social media for a minute?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, because it was like the Running Man challenge or whatever.
The Running Man challenge. So I remember when I was on GCI, we started playing that a lot because the kids coming up now were like, "Ooh, what's that song?" So then they started listening to it. So it's really whatever people are listening to.
Right.
Listen to.
That makes sense.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, because I feel like I got some other ones, but
I have a question.
Okay.
I want to know, as listener, flip the script, sis. I want to know from listener point of view, how do you think radio has changed?
I'm gonna say who wants to go first.
That is, I'm glad you asked that. So, when I was in high school, I had a radio internship through WKKC, and it was actually funded through the After School Matters program. And so this program, actually, after I graduated high school, Chance the Rapper went through the exact same program. It was called the Teen Talk Radio Show. And so at the time, I felt like people were a lot more involved with calling into stations and giving their opinion and having that personal one-on-one tangible relationship with whatever personality was on during that shift. And as I get older now, it's been 13 years since I was in a part of that program. I have even seen a shift from the listener point of view, but also for somebody who still at one point aspired to be a radio personality and to be a part of the broadcast industry. And so I don't see that tangible relationship as often as we used to. And maybe because now we're on our phones more, or we're on apps more, and we're not really calling in, we're not really, maybe we're not listening as much. And I think the data and the numbers would really tell. I could just be giving my opinion, numbers don't lie, but I do see a shift in that I don't even listen as much as I used to. Or if I do listen, now I'm going to the jams session 104.3 because I'm looking for what I used to hear. I don't, and in no way is there anything wrong with the rap or the hip hop music that's being played right now or that's being created at the moment, but I'm no longer a part of that age group. So like I have cousins that are still high school and college age, but for me, now I'm in that different age group. And so I guess I'm getting my music either through Apple Music, podcasts, listening and I'm watching YouTube. And so I don't call in. I ain't called a radio station probably in years. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
It hasn't been that long. It's probably been like 2 years, but still, when we were in high school, it was like you called after school, or you called, you know, even in middle school, and you especially call GCI for your birthday.
Well, your birthday line.
Yes.
Man.
You call for your birthday, okay? Listen. But yeah, I have for sure seen a decrease in our age group with being listeners.
Mm-hmm.
I think I agree with that. And I think because at least the decrease for me, and I think for people like even maybe like a little bit younger than us, like I guess for instance, Ashley, I'll say like that, Danielle, Deanna, like there's a decrease because music is so accessible, like on our own now. Before, and even, you know, Granny was talking about this, how like the top 10 or the top 40, you couldn't hear them unless you were listening to the radio. Now, whatever you want to listen to, whether it's a top song on like, you know, TikTok, or if it's a random song you heard on like Instagram or something, you can go straight to whatever source, whatever streaming service that you're listening to and find that. You don't necessarily have to wait, and you don't have to wait until the song is played. Like you can be listening to the radio and hear a whole bunch of songs like, yeah, okay, this song is cool, but you could be waiting for your one song for, you know, however many minutes, as opposed to just going and clicking and writing on your phone. You like, this is what I want to hear, so I'm just gonna go listen to that.
You don't have to wait for like the world premiere or
right
premiere to actually, you know, hear it for the first time.
Exactly. And so I think it's a combination of accessibility and our age range, because we also are growing out of that age range where the music is catered to us, or what's being played on the radio is catered to our group of, you know, so that's what I think. What about you, Ashley?
Well, I mean, just to kind of piggyback off the accessibility thing, which I think, you know, I agree. I think it's a combination of both accessibility and age. But I was just thinking about how, you know, like back when we were coming up, I felt like radio interviews were a huge thing. And they're not so much now. I mean, they're still, you know, I feel like there's certain shows that you listen to because you know they're going to do a radio interview with artists or whatnot. But now we're more accessible to celebrities. So I don't have to wait for Cardi B to do a radio interview next week to hear about her new album. Like, she's going to get on live tomorrow and talk about it or whatever. You know what I'm saying? Like, we have more ways to just get things directly from the source. There's no anticipation really for things anymore. Even when they do announce stuff in advance, it's like, they'll tell you on Wednesday, my new single come out Friday. You come out at midnight on Friday. So yeah, it's strange. It's weird, but I think it's cool. It's cool to be able to have lived in like two different time periods, because we're in a generation that was like pre all this technology.
Yeah, and
we're also a part of this, you know, like smart everything boom, smart TVs, smartphones. It's what a time.
Right, what a time. Well, Danny, do you think so? As just referencing that, do you think that there will be a shift in radio? Do you think radio will always have a place? Because I feel like that's probably a question that is coming up a lot, because like I said, like we've all said, because of accessibility, because we don't have to wait necessarily for the radio to play. But do you think radio will still be able to thrive, you know, going forward?
Believe it or not, radio is still some people's number one source, and the numbers actually show it, especially local radio, because they're talking about local things that are going on in your community. It's nice to have, you know, music at your fingertips, but people also go to radio to be informed. And then everybody doesn't have access to apps and stuff like that. They might not want to pay for it. So radio is still that free platform that people can listen to. But in that, radio is changing right now with a lot of shows that are being recorded and syndicated from other cities and stuff like that. So you might have one personality at Tom Joyner, shout out to him, because he's the one who, you know, started all of that, where he could be in one city and be broadcasted on, you know, 50 others. So that's something that's really changed about radio. You might not always have the local people in your city that you can feel and touch and be out in the community with. And I think that's one thing that people do love about radio, is having that personality and being able to see that person at the party that you're at or at the event that you're at. So I feel like that is one thing that's changing about it.
Do you
so
think
I hope maybe it'll go back.
I was about to say, do you think that the people or the listeners, us as listeners, could, I'm sorry, y'all, I'm like asking all these questions, like kind of taking my bad. But do you think that the people could speak up? Like, do you think, I mean, I feel like we all have power and we don't necessarily know how much we have unless we speak up. Do you think that that's something that local radio personalities can speak up about and create, you know, create something where it is more back to local, you know, radio personalities?
I think so. I think that they would listen, but it's just so much now that, is there a need for it? Because people can reach out to you on social media, on a podcast. You're not necessarily just tied to that radio station, but you can have your own thing and be connected to the listeners in your own way. So there might not be a need for that. That makes sense.
It does. I didn't even really think about that.
Makes
Me either.
Yeah, I mean, because when you, I guess when you've established yourself as a radio personality, I'm sure it's easier to then take your fan base to whatever.
Oh yeah.
You know, whatever platform you decide to use. Like, so for you, for instance, like, I'm sure, like, you know, since you're on this podcast or, you know, or whatever you're doing, because you have those listeners in Indianapolis, because you have people who have been following you since you were on the radio here, you can take those listeners, take those followers and carry them on with you, basically through everything you do, because you established that relationship with them. But I feel like, but then it'll be harder for, if there is like this change, it'll be harder, or it'll take longer, I guess, for people to establish themselves and for them to gain the following that maybe you would have if you had the opportunity to be a radio personality.
Right.
Yep. That's interesting. Well, I mean,
yeah.
You guys have any more questions?
You made me think a lot.
All of us, everybody. I think that's good. Like, I feel like for these type of questions probably pop up in people's head randomly, and then they just kind of go on about their day. People don't, you know, like, talk about it. And I mean, not to say that we have a solution, but it does kind of get the conversation started.
Right.
To see, like, you know, what can be done, what is being done, what will happen. You know, I guess it just piques your interest a little more to see exactly what.
I mean, I even think about, as I, you know, in the last 8 years have worked in education, specifically college access, like higher ed, helping students figure out what they want to do post high school. And you hear people talk about, like, yeah, I'm gonna be on the radio, I'm finna be rich, I'm finna be so-and-so, I'm the hottest, you know, Chicago belong to me. And I think, like, does it? Like, even the people who have been loyal in the entertainment industry, who are, you know, that we know living in this city, still have to, you know, fight for their, I guess, seat at the table too, to become a decision maker. And I think about even like myself choosing to spend all this money to go to school to study journalism, and things happen all the time. You know, you either switch the program or you take one of those courses and you see the salary for a full-time journalist who has to go, you know, to middle of nowhere, Ohio first, or the backwoods of Kentucky first before they make it onto like E-News. And so, I guess what piece of advice would you give to anyone who either is still having hopes of being a part of the broadcast industry, or even youth who are currently in high school and they are, about to embark on a journey to either become like a broadcaster, mass communications, journalism major. And it's like, yeah, I understand your dream, but here are other things that you could possibly do, to still use that skill or to still get what you love out of, the end goal.
Well, girl, you are speaking. When you talking about salary, because when you're starting out, and like you said, depending on what city you're in, what market you're in, you might not be making hardly anything, especially when you start out at the bottom. But everybody has to start at the bottom. Everybody has to work their way up. And I am a believer in going after your dreams. But like you said, it can be, especially nowadays, there's a million ways to go about your dreams.
Yeah.
So for broadcasting or radio specifically, do a podcast. Do you know how many shows have been picked up and how many people who have podcasts who are making more money than people who are on terrestrial, FM radio? YouTube, your social media, get your following up, where the radio stations, they're now looking for people who have a lot of followers in a big following.
I was gonna bring that up.
Yeah, they're looking for that. They're looking for the next star.
The influencer culture.
They're looking for that. And that's the culture that we're in, So it's just, there's really no excuse nowadays. Back in the day, it'd be hard just to get in, to a GCI or a Power 92. But now you can get in your own way, and then it'll make them want you. So you just got to work.
That's good. Thank you.
Yes.
You're welcome.
Well, yes. Thank you, Danny, for coming on and talking to us. This was a little reminiscent and asking just the good questions, and thank you for your input. Yeah.
Right.
This was great. And I'm sure we would love to have you back and talk about something.
Absolutely.
Please.
We would love to come back. Thank you for this.
No problem. Great. All right. Well, we're going and I guess we'll let you go, Danny, and then we'll close out the show. And yeah, we'll see you soon.
Thank you, ladies.
Thank you, Danny.
No problem.
Bye. No, I get out of here. Oh, leave. Okay.
Leave, girl. Leave. Yeah.
That was nice.
It was. Good times. Our first guest.
Right. That was in our Granny was our first guest. Don't.
Granny. Oh. Granny, if you're listening.
I'm gonna take that part and put it and send it just to her and be like, Granny, that's what Ashley said.
She ain't gonna like me no more.
Don't worry, she only listened to, I'm pretty sure she only listened to her own personal episode. You would be just
Well, thanks again to our guest, Danny D. We had such a good time talking with her. Just think about on our childhood and talking about the state of radio now. It was a great time. Okay, so on our next episode, we will be discussing the one, the only, Beyonce Giselle Knowles Carter. It's going to be our B-Day celebration, or belated B-Day celebration, but we will be ranking Beyonce's 6 albums from, wait, no, she ain't got 7.
You can know you're right, 6. Okay, go ahead. You're the stand.
That's how you know we not a part of the Beehive. We don't know.
Y'all Megan just had me shook. I'm like, Bruce is going to cuss me. He's going to cuss me. Beyonce's will be I'm throwing off now.
That's my fault. Go ahead.
Okay. Yeah, 6, because we're not counting the Carters.
Okay.
We will be ranking Beyonce's 6 albums from our least favorite to favorite. Oh no, we said least to greatest, right?
Yeah.
We'll be ranking Beyonce's 6 albums. That's what we'll be doing for our belated B-Day celebration. Y'all tune in. Thank you so much for listening to the Do You Speak Music podcast. Don't forget. Huh?
I'm taking a sabbatical.
You ain't getting out of this one, KB.
No, you're not.
So follow us on IG and on Facebook at doyouspeakmusic.co and follow us on Twitter at doyouspeakmusic. We'll see y'all for belated B-Day. Thanks, guys.
Bye.